I share community. Hi, good evening, everyone, and thank you for your patience. Those who waited, seem to be technology problems with the Zoom. I hope it will be steady from now on. And if you missed the time, I will put the recording anyway. So good to see the parents that are here, and if you're here and you want to make a comment or send a question privately or not, you're most welcome. Um, so this is the series that I've started about the new children, and I started it with the passion that I have about children, about understanding who they are, the mystery and the brightness and the potential that they come with during this time, which is a special time on Earth anyway. And I spoke about it in terms of evolution in the first live and the second live. Also, I spoke about the new children and their sensitivities. And this third meeting, I'm going to speak about the sensitivity in the context of their potential, of their human potential. Both on the quality side, the quality means the human that they are and the human qualities that they bring and show us and express. Not always do we realize them, that it actually starts so soon. And sometimes, even in the womb, we can really feel the quality. Sensitive mothers can have a lot of stories about that they know who this child is and they appreciate um, some quality that he has, and then through lifetime they see it grow and develop. So they bring their own potential, in a way, their presence, their life forces, their talents, their brightness, their uniqueness. This is, yeah, the huge sack of potential that they come with. They don't come empty, if that's what we used to think. Um, they come with this potential, but this potential is looking for the right ecology to thrive. Okay, in the right ecology, it can thrive. Um, and tonight, I want to speak a little bit about how to just the pathway. We will not get there, but and these lives are like snapshots, like shorties, because I can speak for 2 days about the whole really body of knowledge and understanding and experience that we have within new children and ways to cope with difficulties, ways to enhance their well-being. But I really want to put like seeds each time, each in each opportunity, because sometimes it's even more useful for us to grasp it, to be with it, to contemplate about it, to try it at home. If I give you a tip or so. I just say just a few words about me, those who don't know me. My name is Naveh, and for the last 20 years, actually since my first child was born 21 years ago, um, I had a huge hunger, but really throughout my life, to really understand who they are and how to relate to them. Because from the first moment, I realized it's not going to be the same story that I had in my childhood. I felt I need to find my own path as a parent. And then I went to study prenatal and perinatal psychology in America and um, Santa Barbara. It was the beginning there, then Chicago. And then develop all kinds of courses and special programs to allow the human potential to thrive from the very beginning. From before conception, our courses were starting before conception as a preparation, because we used to say pregnancy is already the show time for the baby, right? It's the happening time. It's when his potential container, as I call it, being formed. So we want to come ready for these moments. And throughout the first years of life, we accompanied these programs for some time. Then there were the Zoom programs. And soon I'm going to come out with a new program for parents. And for me, I wrote a book also about the new concepts for the new mindsets for the new parents. And during these lives, I'm giving, in a nutshell, this, that, and the other. So it's not a whole picture, but it's something to form the whole picture with this knowledge and understanding that I wish to offer you. Okay, so tonight, just excuse me, my glasses fell. I wanted to continue from last time that I spoke about the sensitivity of the new children. And I spoke about the sensorial, the nerve, actually, the nerve sensitivity, how high it is. And it can be expressed through movement, through behaviors. What we need to understand is that the more accomplished a person is, right? We know it. The more acute he is, the more knowing he is of what fits and what doesn't fit. And it's also with these children. They come with a better version, as I said it, in terms of their systems, right? I call it the complex, which is not only body, but body, mind, soul, spirit. Yeah, it's all these parts all together. And the more acute and precise and accurate and sensitive the system is, it means that it can carry more potential in it. And that the children, when they are sensitive, for us, is like a signpost to really take a step back and appreciate them in a new way. And understand, for us, it's so important, their behaviors as a symptom of difficulty. Especially in the beginning of life, we know that the landing, right, as a new baby is quite a process. It needs to land into this world, to process food, to process his new being, his new body. And because the system is so accurate, it can be challenging. But what we see in the new generation, that the level of sensitivity stays high, even during first year, second year, third year of life, and sometimes much more. And the more children come, we see more of these phenomena, of these sensitivities, and of this potential. And I spoke about it as well, as so many of them, 30%. That's what research says, but I think it's much more. Come as bright, genius, talented, gifted children, as the culture puts, yeah, this tag on them. But our culture is also trained to look at the children in terms of IQ most of the time. And I think, although there have been other um, um, other ways to try and measure human potential, for example, Gardner, who tried to see all kinds of intelligences, yeah, the kinetic intelligence, of course, the emotional intelligence. Still, it was not really taken as a tool. And we see that some of them, even if they're not, the brightest children, uh, and I feel that every child has a huge human potential and huge human genius, a natural genius. It just need the right ecology and the right conditions in which they can thrive. But it can be not only academic, it can be in terms of their human qualities, in terms of their wish to help, and in terms of other measurements that we didn't take into account so far, at least in an official and for official way in our culture. I think that the story of Einstein and Thomas Edison is a good examples to see. Both of them were sensitive children in the way that really what mattered to them was relationships. And we see, at least for Einstein, who didn't speak until he was 3 years old, and for a long time they didn't consider him to be a bright child at all. It's only in later years that he came to academy and his brightness was discovered. Um, and Thomas Edison had a similar story. What's their stories are exempling is the parents' support, because their parents, especially their mothers, actually felt that school was not for them and they needed something else and supported them in their ecology. There is a nice story for Ken Robinson, if you know him, who was a professor, English professor. And he tells a story about a girl, I forgot her name, that came to him. It's not to him, sorry, it's a psychologist that lived, it was 40 years ago or more in England. And a mother with a girl came to him, and the mother said, my, my child, she has a problem. She cannot sit in chair at school. She always jumps or dance or and she's like relentless. There's no inner quiet in her just to sit and learn like the other children. So the psychologist said to the mother, okay, so let's do an experiment. He just left the radio with music open in the room and he said to the child, we need to go, he said to the girl, we need to go out just for a few minutes and we come back. And when they looked out of the door, watching over her, they saw her dancing to the music. And he told her, Mom, there's nothing wrong about your child. She just loves to dance. That's what she needs to do. She needs to dance. And this girl became one of the English theater brightest person who accomplished a lot. And without her, it was really a suffering and a loss to the world of theater in England. So this is just one, I just forgot her name, but I'll try to remember and write it in the notes. It is one example of how in our times we measure potential and look at it as a problem because it doesn't fit the system or our expectation because we also have the systems in ourselves. So in a way, it's a new appreciation. And when we look at the behaviors that we see at home, our children may not want to listen to us, burst, be insisting on things that we think are not important, and what we call discipline problems and what parents call. Usually, these are symptoms of a child that needs to be seen better, understood better. And the more sensitivity, the more potential, usually, it's there. Um, So what we know today is that what I call the containers of potential are sensitive matters. So what are these potential? It's the brain, and we have more than one brain because they discovered we have a brain in our heart and also in our stomach. So we have brains, right? And we have the nerve system as a whole. And what today scientists say, it's not only the brain that is the potential. Relationship is the extension of the nervous system, which is the extension of the brain, right? So relationship, in a way, is if we want to help, to shape, to allow, to strengthen, and to allow resilience to this new child, or not new child, even as a teenager, it's true. Throughout the years, we can do it by relating and by attuning our relationships to our children, because it all goes in, and in a way we understand the parents today to be the architects, yeah, of their children potential. Now, it's really for us a challenge, can be challenging to hear this news, because if it is so, we would want to have the tools, the ways and means how to handle our children, how to form relationship in a way that allows them to grow naturally. I call it a natural assistant growth, and grow into their full potential. And I will speak about it more also in a nutshell in our um, next live shorties. Um, but it is important to emphasize that it's not only about the containers of potential that we speak, because on top of it, there is the consciousness. The consciousness of the child is right there from the beginning. The consciousness, we can describe it as the presence of the human being that we are. And that starts not, it's not parallel to the brain, because the brain develops in stages. Consciousness is present from the very beginning, almost the very beginning. It's a whole explanation about the arrival of the consciousness, but it's there already from pregnancy. And it is important for us to know that when the child is bringing himself, he knows in himself, though he cannot say it, who he is. And he has also expectations from us as a child, for example, to be received, to be seen, to be loved, um, and to be respected. And I think I told you the story about the children that I used to host here in their homeschooling. And one time, there came a because they had all kinds of coaching that used to work with them, coaches. And one of them asked them, "Why did you leave the school?" And they said that we were not being heard there. They did not respect us. The teacher would respect one another, but we were as if a lower grade for the teacher. They didn't listen to us in the same way. And this is about the expectancy of the children. They cannot, of course, explain it, and not when they're 2 or 1 or 3 or 4 or 5 years old. Yeah, they don't have the words or concept, but they know it in themselves. And the more we treat them as a full human being, as a full consciousness, which is different from the way maybe we were handled as children ourselves. Um, because most of us still think, children, they will not remember, they're not really there, especially as babies, and they take everything in. They are sensitive, they read our thoughts, they read our minds, they read our emotions, and they're very sensitive to the relationship that happens between us and them. And the more we we give ourselves the chance to form a healthy, meaningful um, relationship that can really appreciate who they are, even without doing so many, changes, they feel it right away. They know it right away. And they communicate with us, and not only in words, but in ideas. And I spoke a little bit about their telepathy, and I will tell a nice story of a mother and a child. And, because I told you we are also the new children, right? It's not only that the newcomers are new children, but it's the last few generations, maybe 2 or 3 generations that came from the late 70s or even late 60s, and that brought and showed out and showed up with new qualities, new sensitivities, and in a way I can say a higher level of humanity. And they expect from us to be in this highness of humanity also with them. And the story, actually I'll tell 2 stories just for the end, and I'll give you a tip for the end of this short live. One story is telling about a mother who is intuitively, when her child came to her when he was he was 8 years old, and he told her, "Mommy, my leg hurts." And just really intuitively, she put her hands on his leg, and she closed her eyes. She closed her eyes, and she asked him also to close his eyes. And suddenly she saw a picture of one of his friends, and she asked him, "Tell me, how are you with your friends? What's going on around there?" And she said, "Okay, everything is fine." And she said about this specific friend, something happened. And he said, "Oh, yes, actually, we had a huge fight." And she said, "Okay, I think your leg is telling me that there's something that you felt, and now it's in the leg. Maybe you didn't let yourself process it. So tell me, how did you feel about it?" And he spoke about it just for a while, about what happened. And then he went away, came to her 10 minutes later, and he said, "Mommy, the pain is gone." So you see, it started like as a play, but actually it is very real. Another nice story is another mother um, who used to communicate. She noticed right away that her children, especially the older one, does not communicate so much verbally. So she started to communicate with him telepathically. And one day, as if she heard him saying, "This is not the way I want you to pronounce my name." And he said the way to pronounce his name. At that time, I think he was 7 years old or 6 years old. And the next day, when she remembered that, she pronounced the name the way he wanted her to pronounce it. And he looked at her and he said, "This is the way I want you to pronounce my name." Right? So it is a mystery. It is very sweet. And the purpose of this whole um, tonight life is really to give you a new appreciation of their wonderful and wonder about them, appreciate them from a new perspective. And just this little movement really shift everything for them. The last tip for tonight is to hold at all times their image. Although they might be small, this height, hold their image always in light, always embraced with positive thinking, because they absorb everything. We don't want to worry about them. We don't want to have fears about them because they get it. What we do want is always to send, their blessing. And for a long time, I did it as a practice myself as a mother, just holding my children and imagining them in light and sending them, the positive and strengthening them. And I saw how influencing it was for them as well. So, that's it for tonight. I hope you have a good night and the rest of your or day wherever you are. And let's see each other next week. Bye bye for now. Those who want to write me are most invited. Bye bye.